We all become storytellers. By telling stories, we hope to tell others who we really are. And we hope that the stories that we tell are more interesting and entertaining than the cold, hard facts of the lives that we live. Our stories serve as maps, and they tell us so much more than where we have been across the living of our days. Stories are our ways of exploring the mystery of who we were yesterday, who we are now, who we may become tomorrow. And in the end, our stories shape us as much as we shape them. Like many of you, I am looking forward to Thursday, to Thanksgiving Day. It may be one of my favorite holidays of the year. On Thursday, everyone who joins the feast at the Broom House will be required to participate in a Broom family Thanksgiving tradition. Before the grace is offered for the meal, everyone will be called upon to share 3 things that they are especially grateful for this Thanksgiving season. But before that time of sharing begins, before even anyone is called to the table, I am very likely to tell an old Broom family story. In August of 1977, Rita, Chip, who was then a little more than maybe 18 months, and I moved to Louisville, where I enrolled in Southern Seminary. Our first months in Louisville were very, very hard. We both faced significant challenges finding jobs in Louisville. Money was short, and we were stretching the few dollars we had as far as we could make them go. When we moved to Louisville in that August, my father was working overseas. October came. He came stateside, and he called to say he was coming to Louisville to visit us. Chip was so excited. Pawpaw is coming to see us. Yes, son, he'll be here Friday. Pawpaw's coming to see us. Yes, he'll be here Friday. Pawpaw's coming. Yes, he'll be here Friday. We were broke. No money for groceries, but really no worries. I was confident that when my dad got to Louisville, he would put Rita in the car. He would take her to the grocery store, and he would fill up an empty fridge and empty cabinets. Friday afternoon arrived. There was a knock at the door. And then there was this joyful reunion in that small apartment. Pawpaw is here. Mama is here. Chip hugs them both, jumps up in their laps, crawls all over his pawpaw, and then in just a few minutes he runs as fast as he can into the kitchen, throws open the refrigerator door and says, "Pawpaw, you want some Loney?" And there in that refrigerator was a container with 2 slices of Oscar Mayer bologna. This story on Thanksgiving Day begins to set the mood of gratitude at the Broom House. For we are reminded, even when we didn't have anything, the scarcity of it all could not dampen the joy of a little boy who was ready to share all that he had in the fridge with his pawpaw. Moses encourages God's people to create a narrative, a story to help them remember. For Moses, the story should go like this. Remember the long way the Lord your God led you these 40 years in the wilderness in order to humble, to test, so that he might know your heart, so he might know whether or not you would keep his commandments. Remember that He did let you hunger, and then He fed you with manna, so that you would come to understand that one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Remember, the clothes on your back did not wear out. Remember, your feet did not swell. Remember, the Lord was bringing you into a good land, a land flowing with streams, a land of wheat and barley, a land of vineyards and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land where you may eat without fear of scarcity, a land where nothing is lacking, a land where you will eat your fill and bless the Lord your God, for He has brought you into a good land. Moses believed that God's people needed this story to remember. They will need the story to remember, Moses knows, for he has already learned that God's people have short memories. They are quite forgetful. You see, Moses is afraid that God's people will indeed come one day to forget. And he is able to envision exactly what that day of forgetfulness will look like. Moses says that day will come when God's people have eaten their fill, when they have built fine houses, and when they live in them. That day of forgetfulness will come when their herds and flocks have multiplied and when their silver and gold has increased. Moses anticipates that day of forgetfulness. In that time, they will forget that it was the Lord their God who brought them out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. They will forget that it was God who led them through that great and terrible wilderness, who made water to flow from a rock and fed them with manna. Moses envisioned that there would be a day of forgetfulness and a day that they would begin to tell a new story. This new story would begin like this: with my power and with the might of my own hand, I have gotten this wealth. The story will begin with my power and with the might of my own hand, I have gotten this wealth. In their new story, they will skip over the acts of God, or they will only make a casual reference to God that goes something like this: surely God has blessed us this year. But it will now be their story. A story of their power, of their will, of their creativity, of their ingenuity, of their abilities, and of their accomplishments. They will forget that God gave them the power. God gave them the power to achieve, to accomplish, and to acquire. They will forget that all that they began with was a gift from the Lord their God. It seems to me that as Americans, we face some rather significant challenges as Thanksgiving Day approaches. The challenge for us, since even in our toughest times, we have always known abundance, and in most cases had more than enough. It is challenging for us to know on Thanksgiving Day a genuine sense of gratitude for the blessings of life. A gratitude that acknowledges that these blessings we enjoy, no matter how great or how small, are gifts. A gratitude that inspires a deep sense of thankfulness for all the gifts of life. this is a challenge for us. For it is so very hard for us to remove ourselves from the picture even on Thanksgiving Day. We will have eaten our fill. We have built fine houses. We enjoy the warmth and the beauty of our homes. And it becomes quite difficult for us not to feel possessive of them. For us not to say that they are ours, that the house is mine, that this place belongs to me. And in a time we become possessed by a sense of entitlement, and we conclude that we deserved all of these blessings we have received. And before long, like our brothers and sisters, the children of God, of Israel, we write a new story, and we begin to tell a new story. A story that we soon believe with all our hearts. And that story goes like this. We took the initiative. We worked hard day and night. We made our luck. We took advantages of the opportunities that came our way. We made real sacrifices. We took the dare when others chickened out. And the story usually ends with a line like this. We got everything the hard way. We earned it. And we feel somewhere in our souls that we did get it all just that way. It's very difficult for us to turn loose of the things that we have. And when we do give something away, when we do share something that we worked hard to earn with someone else, at the very least, we feel entitled for the person to whom we have shared to be grateful to us. And even on most occasions when we do acknowledge that God is the source of all blessings, a casual review of what we have done with our blessings often reveals that we have been quite reluctant to share our blessings with God and to share them with those God commands us to share with. It seems to me that most good spiritual leaders like Moses, like Jesus, understand something about our human nature. What they understand is forgetfulness. Forgetfulness undermines gratitude. Forgetfulness breeds selfishness. Forgetfulness inspires a sense of entitlement, that we deserve what we have. And we, like those ancient Hebrews, we need a story that reminds us of what God has done. A story that reminds us that everything we have is truly a gift. No matter how much we have made, acquired, and accumulated, one day it will belong to someone else. There's a story about a man who had made millions of dollars on Wall Street. This man decided to go to see Mother Teresa. Somehow his consciousness had been awakened to the huge amounts of money that he had. And out of that awareness, or perhaps out of his sense of embarrassment, he was inspired to share some of it. So he chose to share his wealth with Mother Teresa and her missionaries of charity. He went out to the airport and got on a plane bound for Calcutta, intent on writing Mother Teresa a check. He approached her. he spoke with her. He told her that he was there prepared to give her any amount of money that she might ask for. Mother Teresa looked at him. Perhaps she measured him up in her eye, and she asked him, "How much does a tailored suit like that cost in New York City?" And she told him, and he told her. Then she asked, "How many of those suits do you buy a year?" And he told her. Then she said to him quietly, "Every time you buy a new suit, give an equal amount to whatever charity you choose." And then she sent him away. She was trying to remind this wealthy man that all blessings of life are gifts. And it really didn't matter to her how large a check he might choose to write if there was something missing in his heart. Thankfulness, gratitude, compassion, generosity. His money was not nearly as important as his soul. For us as Americans, it seems particularly hard for us to grasp this bit of wisdom. It's not about the money. Really, it's not about the money. You see, I believe that there is some connection between memory and gratitude. And I believe that gratitude inspires generous living. But I need a story that reminds me that I didn't do this. I didn't get this stuff on my own simply through my power, my intellect, or my industriousness. And all of these things that I have and acquired are truly not worth a thing without the ultimate gift. And that ultimate gift is the gift of life. And even when we understand that all that we have is certainly gift, it goes the same with us as it did with old Job, who said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." It seems to me that without a story, without a narrative that reminds us that we are not God, it is quite challenging to nurture a genuine and real sense of gratitude in our hearts. So today, I choose to end with a story. The story is about an old woman who died and was taken to the judgment seat by the angels. While examining her record in the great book, the judge could not find a single act of charity by her, except that on one occasion she gave a carrot to a starving beggar. Such, however, is the power of a single deed of love, that it was decreed that she be taken up into heaven on the strength of that carrot. The carrot was brought to the courtroom and given to her. The moment she took it in her hand, she began to rise, as if the carrot was pulled by some invisible string, lifting her up to heaven. A beggar appeared, and he grabbed hold to the hem of her dress. A third person caught hold of the beggar's foot and was lifted too. Soon there was a long line of persons being lifted to heaven by that single carrot. And as strange as it may seem to you and me, the woman did not feel the weight of those people who held on to her. In fact, since she was looking up to heaven, she did not see them at all. Higher and higher and higher they rose until finally they could see the very gates of heaven. That was when the woman chose to look back down to catch her last glimpse of earth. And then the woman saw that huge train of people behind her. She felt indignant. She waved her arm and she shouted, "Off, off, off all of you! This is my carrot!" And as she waved her arm, she let go of the carrot for a moment, and down she fell, and all of the others with her. Now, I hope you'll remember this story. And when you remember it, I hope you'll remember the words that undermine a real and genuine experience of gratitude. What are those words? This belongs to me. It's mine. So on this Thanksgiving Day, let's not eat a single morsel of turkey or ham or dressing or anything else until we pause to remember the Lord our God and the gifts that He has given us. And we plow around in the soil of our heart until we unearth a real and genuine experience of gratitude for all that we have, for all